Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Emperor Files, and I'm your host, TJ Comizio. This week's theme is historical significance of ancient Rome, and we have with us today Emperor Augustus Caesar, who is probably one of the most significant people for the Roman Empire.
Hi TJ, thanks for having me on the show. I'm delighted to be here today.
Great, so have a seat. To start off, Augustus, you can tell me how you got your position. What did you have to do to get where you were before you died?
Well, TJ, it took a lot of work. I had the fortune of being adopted by my great-uncle, Julius Caesar, which allowed for me to be raised in a wealthy environment. By the age of 19, at my own expense, I raised my first army, by which I helped to liberate the Republic. I joined some guys, you may have heard of them, Mark Antony and Marcus Lepidus, in the Second Triumvirate, to take down Cicero, who gained too much power.
Ah, yes, I heard about that. How did that go?
Well, we killed him. It worked out pretty well for us.
I bet so.
Anyway, when that was said and done, we split up our land in the Republic. I stayed close to Italy, taking Gaul and Spain. Antony took the east of Italy, and Lepidus went really far away to North Africa. Italy and Rome were shared. We were all happy with what we had.
Seems like things worked out pretty well then.
It didn't last very long though, TJ. One day, Antony sends me a message with his bright idea to give up power and that we should retire to private life. But I don't know about you, but if I had all my wealth and all this land, I would never give it up for a private life. So this message made me pretty angry.
And what'd you do about it?
Well, I told the Senate that in his will he was leaving all his property, which included part ownership to Italy, to his wife and his kids with the Queen of Egypt, Cleopatra. They didn't like this, so we went to civil war with him. To make a long story short, we won and he ended up killing himself.
Wow. Just wow.
I know, right? It was great. With Antony out of the picture and Lepidus all the way out in Africa, I was now sole leader of Italy and Rome. With Mark's death, the Republic ended and my empire began. That's pretty much how I got to my position as emperor.
So now that you're the ruler of the Roman Empire, what did you do that was able to better Rome? Like, what achievements were you able to accomplish?
Well, there are countless. I can name a few for you today. First, there was the declining of the dictatorship. A big reason I believe I was so successful was I chose not to become dictator. I saw in the past it had not worked out too well, so I changed my plan and it worked out for the best.
That was definitely a good decision.
In addition to sorry.
You can kill it right now, it's fine, just keep going.
In addition to that, Egypt was added to the empire under my rule. This was a big plus for the empire. With Egypt came all its wealth and the fertile land, which helped the economy immensely. Also, something that the people were fond of was I stopped ordering prescriptions. This made the citizens feel safer and not have to think that someone was always trying to kill them.
That definitely would have made me sleep better.
Another large change of Rome was my principate, which were all my reforms to the government. I learned from the mistakes of my predecessors, Julius, Cicero, and Pompey, to come up with my own new plan. I also eased into things when I made changes. This was easier on the citizens and the government as to not make them angry. In addition, the Senate was reduced in size. Before I took control, the Senate was 900 members, and I brought it down to 6.
That seems like it was a very good plan. When we were talking with Julius last week, we asked if he had any regrets, and he said one of them was not easing into things when he had the rule, so that's definitely good thinking on your part. By the way, I heard you did something that no one had ever done before, making a kind of police for the city. Tell us about that.
Well, the Praetorian Guard was one of my best ideas. It consisted of about 9,000 men, also known as the Elite 9 cohorts, who were from Italy, which meant they would be most loyal to me. They acted as imperial bodyguards, as well as police for the city of Rome. They were our best troops.
If those men were your best troops, can you tell me about the army you had?
Certainly. The professional army of Rome was totally under my command. They only listened to me. I had complete control. The army of mine was used to maintain internal stability of the borders of the empire. The army and the control of it was one of the pillars that kept my empire standing.
You talk about pillars. What was another pillar that you were able to keep your empire afloat with?
Well, in addition to my army, my bureaucracy was one of those pillars. The bureaucracy was there to maintain the army as well as run the finances of the empire.
How about conquered people? Were they all a threat to the stability of the empire at all?
Not at all. One thing that was able to help us with this was Romanization. The areas and territories that we had taken over adopted Roman customs and laws. They were also given the opportunity to gain citizenship if they fought in the army. This helped for them to supply the army and to maintain loyalty to us. Some of the colonies that were set up under my reign were in places such as Africa, Sicily, Macedonia, Asia, Syria, Gaul, and Pisidia.
Well, you certainly got around when you were in control.
Aha, yes I did.
Is there anything else that added to the stability of this new empire you founded, Augustus?
Yes, there is, TJ. One thing that I did was I used religion to help maintain political stability. I decided to revive an old religion that had been long forgotten about and make myself Pontifex Maximus. This helped me to better have an influence over the people.
That's a very different approach to things. Anything else that was new or different for you?
As a matter of fact, yes, there was. The revival of the Italian population was very important to me. I had a whole campaign for having the population grow. My idea of a steady birth rate and steady population was 2.1% or higher. This meant that when 2 parents died, there would be 2 kids that accounted for them, plus another child that would make the population grow. I even gave money to married couples that had 3 or more children. And they had to be married so that the children would be considered legitimate. This turned out to work very well.
Yes, it did. The Roman population really shot up during your reign. Before we need to wrap it up here, as we come to the end of this week's show, I have one more question for you, Augustus. How did you get your name? I know that you were born with the name Octavian, but why Augustus now?
This is a very good question, TJ, and I'm asked it quite frequently. I was so popular in my time that the people and the Senate chose to give me a name that they knew better to describe my power. Augustus was the name that the Senate chose to give me, which meant most honored and revered. It's semi-divine, because they thought I was like a god, and I was given a name to show that.
I never knew that. I can see why you were given such an incredible name. You have done so many amazing things in your life. I want to thank you again for being here today on the Emperor Files. I hope to see you again.
No, thank you, TJ. It was my honor.
Tune in next week when the topic will be ancient China. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, TJ Comizio, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Emperor Files. And we have with us Emperor Augustus Caesar, who's probably one of the most significant people for the Roman Empire.
Hi, TJ. Thanks for having me on the show.
So now that you are the So now that you are the ruler of the Roman Empire, what did you do that was able to? What?